significant increase. So we thought, starting this business, where we sell t-shirts and hoodies and goods, some of which we have over here for sale today, would be a way in which we could raise money to do work to combat these things: bullying, violence, suicide rates. We wanted to encourage students in particular, young people in particular, to excel in their academic interests, excel in interests that might be kind of outside, physical athletics or other kind of like widely accepted things that people do. And so the company sells the apparel, we donate 15% of all proceeds to youth mental health. So that's one of the things that makes us unique in terms of like how much we give to these organizations. We also do a number of kind of community events. We do the chess club, we do chess tournaments. We did a Chess in the Park Day, which you're going to see a video about shortly. And we're looking to expand other community events. So let me say a bit about our first donation and who we donated to. This gives us a sense. This gives you a sense of the kind of things we're supporting, the kind of organizations we're supporting. So our very first donation went to the Footprint Collaborative, and this is a community development initiative between 3D Restoration, Bacon Street, Youth and Family Services, York County Housing, the Village Initiative, and Inner Peace Coalition. And they do work to serve houseless, unaccompanied youth who lack family support and don't qualify for established programs. And the collaborative is trauma responsive. It takes a housing first approach, making sure that people get into houses first before they don't have to qualify in any way, right? Get people into houses first, get them on the path back to health. Right, the collaborative is trauma responsive, and it connects youth to mental health services, substance abuse counseling, and job readiness programs. And so we're so proud to be supporting that kind of work, and that's the sort of on-the-ground work Mental Athlete Apparel wants to support. Okay, so what are we doing here today? Well, you're going to hear from myself and then 3 other speakers, Marty, Fred, Isaiah when he comes, and what you're going to notice is that they come from very different perspectives, very different walks of life, very different vocations, yet they can all resonate with this idea of being a mental athlete. Right? Many of them have overcome serious difficulties in life, and they're going to speak to those ways of overcoming, using one's mind well for the purpose of flourishing. So when we came up with this idea, we thought we need a definition, right? I'm a philosopher, so I love definitions. Defining what things are. So a mental athlete, as we define it, is anyone who is skilled or trained in using their mind in some arena requiring mental strength, discipline, and stamina. Again, we were thinking about this applied to our chess students, but we realized this goes way beyond just chess and games, things like that. We thought, gosh, anybody in any sort of vocation can be a mental athlete, right? Insofar as they're using their mind, developing resilience, mental strength, fortitude, things like that. So the spectrum of mental athletes, we want we want university professors to be mental athletes, but all the way down to, folks at Portsmouth Jail, which you're going to hear about later on. All right, so my own journey to philosophy, I think, witnesses to some of what we're doing here today. I grew up playing baseball. I played baseball in high school. I ended up playing in college as well, and I was all in. It was like the only thing I really cared about at the time. And so there was a clear sense in which I needed to train my body, I needed to be disciplined about how I treated my body, how I trained. And over time your interests change. I realized I was not going to be a Major League Baseball player, and I had to come to terms with that. And I got really interested in philosophy. And so that shift in my interest and my opportunities came with also a shift in my mentality that I wasn't going to train my body anymore the way I was. Now I needed to train my mind in the corresponding way. Right? I needed to train my mind to be disciplined, to be focused, to be resilient with all the stress and challenges that come with pursuing an academic career. Right, so let me say a bit about philosophy, just because that's the way in which me being a mental athlete looks. So The term philosophy literally means the love of wisdom, right? This is from the ancient Greeks, the 𝗕𝗏𝗄, right? Love of wisdom. And the ancient Greeks, I think they thought of the love of wisdom as something like using your mind well for the purpose of living well, right? So it wasn't merely theoretical, even though there's part of philosophy that's all about like what's the world like and what can we know about the world, but it was still geared towards, and then how do you flourish in light of that? So in my teaching, I teach a course called Truth, What Is It, Why Care About It? And I just want to use some of what we do in that course as an illustration for the kind of work that I think all of us can do. In that course, we talk a lot about why you should believe true things and why you should care about having true beliefs. So what's the value of having true beliefs rather than just like useful beliefs or something like that? I think this sort of question and this sort of course is particularly relevant today, where we find ourselves in a kind of social climate where people have quite different beliefs. We have vast amounts of polarization between people. I'm sure you've all experienced disagreeing with someone and feeling like you're just living in different worlds, unable to communicate to each other. We often have the feeling that we're not accessing the same information or evidence about the world. Right? That can be really disconcerting, can be despair-inducing in some ways, right? That I guess we're just not going to communicate. I guess we'll just let these people go off and do their thing. I will just retreat into my comfort zone, into my echo chamber, something like that. But I think as demoralizing, as confusing as this moment can be, it's important not to fall into despair about this. The concern for truth, I think, becomes so important here. Our cultural moment, I think, requires a kind of intellectual integrity, which is a sincere effort to believe true things and stand up for the truth. So it requires, to pursue the truth, a willingness to have your beliefs challenged, to change your beliefs, to have your imagination stretched, and to confront hard evidence, right? Confront, in some cases, inconvenient truths. So it may require us sitting with people we don't want to be around to hear their stories, to understand them, right? And so what does this have to do with being a mental athlete? Well, fundamentally, it's about training yourself to believe in the right ways, right? Training yourself to be a sort of disposition where you can hear other people, where you can take in new information, where you can deal with complexity, right? That requires a lot of training and resilience. Right? Because it often doesn't come very easy to most of us. We retreat into, like I said, echo chambers where everybody believes like us. We look to confront our biases, right? And all these kind of very natural impulses work against the pursuit of truth. And so if we're really going to communicate with others, we're really going to pursue truth, we've got to be able to develop these kind of internal traits of resilience, curiosity, right? These sort of things going forward. Right, so I mean, a lot of what Mental Athlete is promoting is the development of both intellectual and moral virtues, right? We want the life of the mind to be working well. We want people then to act in morally correct ways, right? So this is resonant with, the kind of virtue ethical tradition we find coming out of a philosopher like Aristotle. So he says this. He says, but the virtues we get by first exercising them, as also happens in the case of the arts as well. For the things we have to learn before we can do them. We learn by doing them. For example, men become builders by building, and lyre players by playing the lyre. And so too we become just by doing just acts, temperate by doing temperate acts, and brave by doing brave acts. Right? Now, I don't say any of this to suggest like being a mental athlete is all like a self-help, pull yourself up by your bootstraps sort of active, right? We never develop in these ways in isolation from one another. Right? We always do this with others. We do this often. And so developing good habits of the mind is not something that we can just force ourselves into. We need to surround ourselves with certain kinds of people, adopt certain mentors who can help us with this, and ultimately work together in this way. So the philosopher Charles Taylor writes something that I think is illuminating at this point. He says, we define our identity always in dialogue with, sometimes in struggle against, the things our significant others want to see in us. even after we outgrow some of these others, our parents, for instance, and they disappear from our lives, the conversation with them continues within us as long as we live. So our slogan at Mental Athlete is, what's your arena? Right? This question is getting at the idea that your interests will draw you somewhere to your arena where you can excel. Right? Obviously drawing like a sports analogy here. Like, what's your field of play? Like what's your area of interest, your expertise where you're going to excel in these ways? And so we ask this question in part to get us to think about who is it that you're going to engage with? Like what's your arena? Who are you going to be engaged with? And how are you going to develop in those kind of circumstances? Right? So your arena, be it the classroom, the office, the courtroom, the living room, or even a jail cell, is a place where you and others can come together to test yourself and make yourselves better. Right? So I hope you have a little bit better understanding of the kind of conceptual backgrounds of what being a mental athlete is, how we want to tie it to lots of different areas of life, academics, but also just like how do you live and flourish in your communities. So I hope that the talks today are inspiring. I hope they're interesting to you as well. Like I said, you're going to hear from 3 different individuals who have quite different backgrounds and really fascinating and insightful stories. So thanks for being here today.
Fantastic. Can we get just one more round of applause? So, right after Aaron, we have a musical guest who's about to do a small performance real quick by the name of Diceman. So, as we get some things set up real fast, we're going to have him come up. He's going to sing the mental athlete anthem that he wrote himself and also produced himself as well. So, without further ado, we want to bring up Diceman.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hey. I created the Mental Athlete theme song after talking to my uncle over there, Marty. He called me up and told me the concept of a mental athlete, and throughout the conversation, I realized I am too a mental athlete, because I'm a DJ and a hip hop artist, and I use my words every day, and we're creating music and DJing and doing different things. I'm 𝗕𝗶𝗴 my thing, but I can perform. That's what I do, my music thing. Unfortunately, right now I don't have a mic, but we'll do this. Y'all sing along with me. Y'all know the song, theme song, we'll do this thing.
All right, you ready?
Yes, sir. My arena's the booth. That's what it is. I'm a mental athlete. And life knock you down, get back on your feet. Exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knock you down, get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. I'm a mental athlete. My thinking is elite. I'm thinking of a master plan. I want 10 times 100 grand. Do the math and run it back. Visions of a quarterback. Cents make dollars. I'm on a quarterback. Cooking with these lyrics. Trying to make a meal. Time for action. Meet me up in Centerville. It's just not checkers. You can never check us. Think before you lose. Thinkers never snooze. And life knocks you down. Get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knocks you down. Get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knocks you down. Get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knocks you down. Get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. I'm always up thinking. Gotta practice patience. Master your ability and turn it to the greatest. Don't bother with depression. Thinking about secession. Change your perception. I hope y'all get the message. Mental athlete, as real as it get. Your brain is a gift. Overthinking is a myth. Thinking out the planning out, you never go wrong. Mentally we strong, this our theme song. And life knock you down, get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knock you down, get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knock you down, get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. And life knock you down, get back on your feet. And exercise your brain and be a mental athlete. As I stated in the intro, I'm a mental athlete.
That's what I am.
My arena.
Yeah.
My question to you is,
What's your rate?
what's your arena?
I'm at the stage. That's what I do. This is what I do. Thank y'all for having me.
Can we get one more round of applause? All right, now we want to move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Marty. Marty Lorenzo Wright is a co-founder of the nonprofit 501c3 organization Faith Walkers Incorporated. In 2015, Marty published a mentoring program, Overcomers Mentor Training. Marty is a loving husband, father, uncle, brother, mentor, and life coach. Marty is a former gang leader and drug dealer that surrendered his life to God while incarcerated and was led by Christ to write and publish his story, Formidable Advisory, Deceptive Weapons of the Enemy. As Marty's life transformed, he mentored many other incarcerated men, a work so effective and garnered recognition from President Obama. A free man now, Marty continues to touch lives through public speaking and teaching. And I'd like to introduce Marty Wright.
Good afternoon, everybody. Aaron gave it to you, the foundation of what mental athletes is all about. I'm just going to share my perspective about what it takes to be a mental athlete. And that I myself, as a mental athlete, helped me overcome a lot of things that I went through in my life. Okay, helped me turn my life around. As he stated, there's no shame in my game. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to keep it 100 with you at all times. I walked the path of destruction when I was younger. And during the course of walking that path, the way that I thought determined how I lived. And that path led me to a path of darkness and incarceration, bias. And so, during the course of that time, I realized that I didn't have to be here. I didn't have to be that way. So I began to change the way that I thought. I changed the way I began to see myself. Then I changed the way I began to see the world. And I also changed the way I began to see other people, which led to a transformation that, for me, it was more spiritual than anything. Okay? I'm a true believer in Christ. I walk a godly life as a Christian, and I don't hide that. I don't shun that. I don't hide from it, and I don't hide it from others. My faith is my foundation. And so I'm going to share with y'all something that I read that really changed my life and my perspective about how I saw myself. And some of y'all are familiar with this, some of you may not be. But I know it's been preached 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways. The story about the prodigal son. The prodigal son story was told that when the prodigal son was in the hog pen, something happened to him. And that, when he was in the hog pen and something happened to him, the Bible says that he came to himself. He became conscious. He woke up. He realized who he was. And when he realized who he realized he didn't have to be in that situation. He didn't have to live that life. And so he came to himself, became conscious, and he got up and he went home. Because he realized that he was the son of a king. That was the same thing that happened to me. I realized who I was. I realized I didn't have to live the life that I was living, and I realized who I belonged to. So I changed my mind. And in essence, changing my mind, I changed my whole world. So that's my background. You know what I mean? Being a mental athlete, for me, it started, I'll tell you how it started. It started with a group of kids that, you know, I see them as our kids. Not just their parents' kids, but they're our kids, because their parents trust us with their kids. And we created a chess club at WCC, and these kids were, like Aaron said, they were getting ready to go to their first chess tournament. And Ashley, I can talk about it now, she's gone. You know what I mean? Aubrey's still here though. But Ashley was kind of worried. She was like, I can't do this, Mr. Martin, I can't do this. And I told her, wait a minute. She said, I really can't do it, I'm nervous. I told her, I said, well, listen, you play a mental game. You're mentally strong, you're mentally aware. And then it just hit me. I said, you're a mental athlete. And that stuck. And that's where the name mental athlete came from. Because chess players, debate clubs, lawyers, doctors, all of them have their own arena. You know what I mean? To give you an example, a lawyer's arena is the courtroom. A doctor's arena is the operating room. A chess player's arena is the chessboard. A debate club debater room is the debate club. Even CEOs that run Fortune 500 companies, their arena is the boardroom. That's your arena. And that's what Aaron was telling y'all, you know, what is your arena? What do you specialize in? Where do you excel using your mind? And I want to share this with you real quick. Make no mistake about it. Physical athletes entertain us. I love sports. I'm a big sports fan. I'm a sports fanatic. I love Duke. I love Florida. I love the Dolphins. And I love the New York Knicks and the New York Yankees. You know what I mean? So, I'm just saying, right? So I'm a sports fan. But let me make no mistake about it. Sports figures, sports athletes, they entertain us. But mental athletes run the world. I'm going to say that again. Physical athletes entertain us. Mental athletes run the world. Think about that. Let that resonate with you for a minute. Who pays those physical athletes? Who are the billionaires? The multi-billionaires that run these companies that employ the physical athletes. If they're not mental athletes, I don't know what they are. They use their mind to excel in their arena of business. They run the world. Your congressmen and your presidents and your vice presidents and all of those people who have used their mind to excel in their arenas. They run the world. People just like you run the world. Mental athletes who have taken their ability to think, to process, to problem solve. Critical thinking are the ones that run the world. Don't get it twisted. We love our physical athletes. Yes, we do. But mental athletes are the ones that run the world. Now, let me give you a statistic. 2% of the population become professional athletes. Only 2%. Guess how many, what that percentage grows to when you talk about your congressmen, your doctors, your lawyers, your CEOs. Guess what that number jumps to? Anybody want to guess? Talk to me, I'll talk back. Yes, sir. 40. So you think about this for yourself. Everybody except for Ian, because he's, Ian on another level. But think about this for yourself. Which should you strive for, the 2% or the 40%? Which is more attainable for yourself, right? Because there's no gender bias in being a mental athlete. You got just as many top lawyers that are females as you are males, right? We know the disparity in the WNBA and the NBA, pay-wise. We understand that. That's being debated right now. So we know there's a disparity in that. But there's no disparity in a female who is a top-notch lawyer and a male that's a top-notch lawyer. They get paid the same. Right? Understand this. There are more people in the world like you who are mental athletes than there are that are physical athletes. I'm going to say that again. There's more people like you who are mental athletes than there are physical athletes. That's a fact. You are amazing in your own right. And don't ever think anything different. Because how you see yourself determines how you live. And that was one of the things that helped me change my life, that helped me also, that transformation helped me speak into the lives of others and help them change their lives. All the way down, think about this. Think about this. A man like me with my background can come home receiving an accommodation by President Obama, who was in office at the time, and go back into the system to teach men how to change the way they think, who is also self-taught. I have no higher education than the 12th grade, but I'm a published author. I'm also the creator of the Overcomers Mentor Training Program that is being taught in prisons right now around the country. I'm also a co-founder of a 501c nonprofit organization that works in our communities to help people who are coming home from prison. And just a caveat for y'all who don't know, I'm about to go to start school Monday to become a peer recovery specialist. Mean? What does all that mean? Let's get to the crux of it. What does all that mean? Right? It means that how I see myself has determined how I live. Please listen to this quote, because it's so valuable. Talking to Grady, I'm talking to Jules. Please remember this quote. An individual will never rise above their level of consciousness. Sit with that for a minute. An individual will never rise above their level of consciousness. Everything starts with a thought. Everything. So in essence, how you see yourself will determine how you live your life. You can't act outside of your mind. You can't act outside of your consciousness. So, if you see yourself as somebody, no disrespect, if you see yourself as a thug, you're going to act like a thug. If you see yourself as a mental athlete, you're going to act like a mental athlete. You're going to think like a mental athlete. You're going to excel like a mental athlete. How you see yourself will determine how you live your life. I cannot emphasize that to you enough. Because unfortunately for a lot of our youth, and this is near and dear to my heart, the youth suicide rate is bananas. It is bananas. You know, the thought, I have 6 children, and I don't know how I would act, where I would be if something happened to one of my children. My heart goes out to have lost their children because of youth suicide. That is one of the things that me and Aaron came together. You know, we have the same heart. He teaches because he has a love for children. I mentor because I have a love for people. So we both are kindred heart in that aspect. But think about it. The youth suicide rate rose to 62% over a 10-year span. That means that one of your classmates, one of your friends could have been in that number. You could have been in that number. Now let's talk about why. The majority of the youth that committed suicide were smart kids. Bullied because they were intelligent. Bullied because they didn't fit the norm. They didn't look the same. Their looks didn't fit a certain criteria, or just being smart. There's a narrative in the African American community that needs to stop. It's been destructive and it is pervasive for over as long as I can remember. And that narrative is, in order to be cool, you have to act dumb. And to me, that is the most destructive thing that could ever happen to a race of people. In order to be accepted, you have to act dumb. In order to be cool, you have to act dumb. And I'm here to tell you that narrative needs to stop. But also the narrative needs to stop that in order to be cool, no matter what race you are, that you have to be dumb. Being intelligent, using your mind to excel, is one of the greatest things that you can do. Being smart, being intelligent, being wise is what will take you who you really are. You should be celebrated for who you are. Being smart, being intelligent, you should be celebrated. And that's what Mental Athlete, the brand/movement, is about, celebrating you. Celebrating you for who you are, because you are fine just as you are. Some of you in here have little brothers, little sisters, cousins, and all that look up to you, right? Raise your hand if you got a little brother, little sister. Okay? I don't know if anybody ever told you this or not, but you are a mentor. I train mentors, right? You are a mentor. Whether you choose to be or not, you are. Because guess what a mentor is? Anybody know the definition of a mentor? Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Somebody who is a role model that teaches you, advises you.
Trusted advisor. So if somebody comes to you and asks for your advice, hey Grady, what do you think about this? Hey Aubrey, what do you think about that? Hey Ian, what do you think about this? What should I do? Guess what they're doing? They're seeking your advice. They trust you with their decision making. A mentor is a trusted advisor. So if you have a little brother, little sister, little cousin, or even a friend who comes to you and asks for your advice in serious matters, you are a mentor. And as mentors, we have an obligation to lead by example. Right? We all have that obligation, lead by example, to be the best version of yourself. And how do we do that? By the way we think. If you see yourself as a mentor, what you gonna act like, Jules? Exactly. So if you see yourself as a role model, what you gonna act like?
You're going to act like a role model.
Exactly. So what am I saying? What is the most important thing about understanding what a mental athlete is? It's about how you think, how you see yourself, and how you see other people, and how you see the world. Because again, how you think will determine how you live. And you are amazing, just as you are. Don't fit in, fit out. I'm gonna say it again. Don't fit in, fit out. Because you're amazing just as you are. Be proud to be who you are. You have been blessed with gifts and talents. You have been blessed with wisdom and knowledge. Don't shun that. Don't walk away from that to be something that you're not. The most criminal thing that anybody could ever do is to dumb themselves down. That's the most criminal thing you can do to yourself, is to play dumb when you're not. Trust me, I did it. I was never dumb. I was always intelligent, but I played dumb for the longest time until I became conscious and woke up. So my question to you today, will you become conscious? Will you wake up and see yourself best life so you can live your best life? Because at the end of the day, mental athletes are running the world. They're running the world. So strive to be wise. Celebrate your intelligence. And don't ever, ever, ever dumb yourself down to fit in. Don't fit in. Fit out. Thank you.
Give one more round, we gotta go out. We'll get into a little bit of a break. We got some food over there for people to get. Right before we do that, see right before you have a little raffle ticket. That's blue. We're raffling some free merch today. To see if I'm not going to right now. I'll show you what you get ticket. Look at the number. It's a good look. We have 217-60006. Everybody deserves a second chance. 217-60010. Hey, third time's a charm, right? We have 217-60098. No? All right, one more. I don't want to hold y'all too long. Yeah.